If I snap my fingers, you'll forget you're gay.
What? That's never gay.
Exactly.
What the fuck? What are you doing right now?
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. No longer gay.
Are we live? The fuck are you talking? Dude, what are you talking about? The fuck is this?
Exactly.
Well, you can't just do this like this. What are you doing? Wait, Will, are we live?
Amazing. Cured it.
I'm like, I'm like super confused right now. We just started this thing, and what is it? What are you talking about? What are you?
I saw this clip, and it's been circulating over, and it's the funniest thing I've ever seen because it's so indicative and such a good parallel of what's going on in society. Have you ever seen this clip?
I'm like so confused right now. You're like gaslighting me right now. Like, what the fuck? Why?
Well, can you play the clip real quick?
What? How come I'm not in on this joke? What happened? I'm like so confused right now, bro. Like we went from serious, we're starting excited, and you just go into this low monotone. Are you gay? Is that what you asked me? Are you gay?
If I snap my fingers, you'll forget you're ever gay.
Are you sending me something right now?
I'm sending it to Will.
I'm like,
Well, where can I play it?
I'm like super confused right now.
Oh, I guess we won't play it.
Oh, well, just play it to me, and then you'll edit it in. Play it to me because I need to know what's going on here right now. I'm just like, we're like 5 minutes into this thing.
Watch it right here.
What is this thing? All right, let me do it so we have volume.
If I snap my fingers, you'll forget that you were ever gay.
I was never gay.
Exactly.
Wait, no, stop.
Yes. If I snap my fingers, you'll forget that you were ever gay.
I was never gay.
Exactly.
Wait, no, stop.
Yes.
No, stop. I was never gay. I was never gay. You can't just
Dude, I just.
state something. That's not
Dude,
your
are we
fingers.
still live?
Like, is it-
Are
I
we
was
still
never
live?
gay.
Oh my gosh, dude, you just did the meme, bro. That's dirty, man.
It's
That's
hilarious.
so dirty.
It's hilarious because it is so true that you can just say something and then all of a sudden you have to defend yourself.
Yeah, I was I started getting knee sweats. You know, like knee pit sweats when you're just like, I have no idea what's going on right now. Okay, I said, okay, well played, sir. Well,
Thank you.
good troll.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're back. Okay, so what was the point of this? To prove, I mean,
We'll get into it. Awesome. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to the Matt Kim Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kim, joined by my co-host, Mr. Peter Saddington.
what's up, guys? Smash the like button. Glad you guys are here. It is a happy day.
If I snap my fingers, you'll forget you're gay. We want to get into the changing of the Kamala narrative. I want to get into that today. I want to talk about her and her adoption of the border wall. I want to get into that today. I want to talk about her talking about how the DOJ is going to be activated to go after misinformation. I want to talk about that today.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Mark Zuckerberg letter, and I
Oh.
definitely want to talk about Tenet Media and Lauren Chen.
This stuff is like hot off the press stuff right now.
Before we do all that, because we are in Georgia, and because the shooting that just happened is literally 30 minutes from here.
Yeah.
Actually, 15 miles from where I live.
Yeah, Appalachia.
I feel like we have to talk about that. Will, can you give us some stats and some information so that we have like context? Because it changes so much. It happened yesterday.
So, according to the internets, the shooter was a 14-year-old Colt Gray, who was formally interviewed with his father by the FBI last year in March. They found that there was some threats made to the school via pictures of guns. So they made an interview, and at the time, his father claimed that his son did not have access to the guns. So they deemed it not threat worthy. As of the shooting yesterday, there were 2 students killed and 2 teachers killed, for a total of 4 people,
Oh, I didn't know it was that bad.
as well as 9 injured,
Oh my goodness.
sent to the hospitals.
How come this isn't all over the media?
At about 9:45 a.m., according to a classmate, Colt left the classroom to supposedly retrieve the gun. Upon returning, since all the doors automatically lock, he knocked on the door. A student got up to go check and to open the door for him, but noticed the gun in his hand and did not open the door for him. At which point, that classroom, started barricading, going to the back of the classroom, and panic ensued. And according to the timeline, shortly after 10 a.m. is when the shooting started. Not specifically, it didn't give any specific detail where. And then at 10:20, the school goes into lockdown. But minutes after, school resource officers engaged the shooter and got him to surrender.
Armed
School
school resource officers.
Armed school resource officers engaged and threatened to, of course, take him out. So he surrendered to the officers.
Oh, so he didn't martyr.
But according to the news, the weapon used was a AR style rifle, but they did not specify the make and model.
Okay.
So this happened in Winder, Georgia, which is literally up the road. I think it's maybe 2 towns over from where I live. Actually, my wife was at her friend's house who lives in Winder, I think on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it was so close, but now that I know how close it was, it feels different.
Yep.
You don't expect these things. You hear these stories, but you never expect it to be so close to your home. And a lot of times when we hear these stories, we're like, damn, like they're crazy and everything else. It's a trans shooter, whatever. I don't think this kid was he wasn't that.
So his name was what again?
Colt Gray.
Colt Gray. That sounds not like your typical.
There's pictures of him from when he was young. Looks like a normal kid.
Yeah, doesn't sound like a person of color. So if my first thing was why isn't this all over the news? And the reason is simple. It probably doesn't fit a narrative.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't support one side or the other. Right.
I mean, they will eventually push it to the news cycle because then they can say, well, it's the guns and the ARs, and especially right before a debate. I bet you they talk about this during the debate and talk about how the guns are the problem. And I don't know. It's like, I get it. He had access to guns. And if he didn't have access to guns, then this wouldn't happen. The reality is he's 14. He shouldn't have access. He shouldn't have a gun anyway. So putting laws on who and who doesn't have a gun doesn't change the fact that if he wanted a gun, he would probably get a gun. Although his father would probably not have had guns around the house. I don't know where the gun came from, but I'm assuming home.
So I think this conversation is very apropos, and the reason is because you had, and I DM'd you about this, your interviews just keep getting better and better and better. You just recently had an interview with a local congressman, and he's a brilliant and sophisticated individual.
Yes.
He knows the law.
Yes.
He knows the Constitution. Huge, staunch supporter of the Constitution, and he clearly understands the breadth and depth of the Second Amendment. And so I'm curious as to his education, because you were asking some great questions about it, in terms of your education, what you've learned from him. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Andrew Clyde.
Andrew Clyde. Whether that has informed kind of this most very recent shooting, whether your mind has been changed around or informed around gun ownership or anything like that. Because it was a wonderful conversation. If you're out there, you should listen to the Andrew Clyde interview. He is a master storyteller. He is deeply knowledgeable and sophisticated, and his understanding of the Constitution is absolutely spot on.
And, I'm a huge 2A advocate. I believe that everyone has the right to have their guns. And I think that is a American right, a God-given right, and that the government has no right to try to take them, for sure. But then when kids die, you're like, oh, I kind of understand the other side just a little bit, And it's a huge logical fallacy because the reality is that removing them from law-abiding citizens usually has no way of affecting these outcomes. Actually, maybe it would make it worse.
It makes it worse.
But I see the emotional gut reaction of people. And it kind of makes sense, like why they would react that way.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Because even if you are a soulless creature, I would be hard-pressed to assume that you don't have some semblance of feelings for when a child dies. I think if you lack the emotional capacity to be able to feel that, then you are truly lost. And so I think whenever a child dies, any rational, logical, well-grounded individual would say, man, that should never happen.
And the person that stopped it was the armed school resource officer.
Which
Person that roams around the halls with armed just to make sure things are safe, and he stopped from more kids dying. At the same time, like, man, do I want my kid going to school with armed guards walking around?
No, you don't.
Then that's like,
You
okay,
don't.
I get all sides of this. It's so tricky.
It is a tricky situation, but at the end of the day, you know what I love. I think this is an overly simplistic metaphor, but track with me here. You know what I love about our Constitution and the amendments is the amendments are in the exact right order. Exact right order. I love the first and second the most, as I should, but I love the logic of it, which is simply this: the First Amendment says you can say whatever the fuck you want. I love that. I love that. You know what I love about the Second Amendment, which comes right after the first? You're gonna have to defend that shit. You're gonna have to defend that shit. So I love that about America is that you have the ability to say whatever you want, but if you say some rowdy ass shit, we have the Second Amendment so that you have to defend it. Now that's an overly simplistic view. Clearly, the context of creating the Constitution and the amendments was a different context than this, right? They were talking about overlords and the government coming in and taking all your stuff. But I think at the end of the day, we really should defer to the states and individuals as opposed to the overarching federal government trying to mandate anything. We also have to remember that 99.999% of all 12 to 14-year-olds who have guns are deeply responsible gun owners because they come from houses where you're raised to shoot the boar or the pheasant or the things that are killing your plants and killing your animals. And so people just like I do who were raised on farms and out in the countryside, and they were handling guns at 8 years old.
And when I think about, he was 14, so somewhere he got this idea that this is a good idea.
Could it be the FBI? I mean, I don't know about you, but there seems to be a common pattern that the FBI visits someone and then something bad happens in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, am I off with that logic? Does that seem like a pattern that's emerged over many decades of patterns?
At the same time, I don't want the FBI going, hey, something's wrong with your kid, and they show up and all of a sudden they're like tracking you and they're getting overly involved in your life. It's such a fine line.
But they wouldn't do that to someone who's well-grounded, rational, not relatively insane or has some sort of psychosis. Let's be honest also, if you follow the patterns, most of these school shooter children come from psychologists. Their parents are often psychologists. So I'm curious as to maybe this individual's parents are psychologists. And I'm not
don't want to
dogging
jump
on
to
psychologists.
Don't want to jump to any conclusions.
But
we just don't know yet.
A pattern is clear that a lot of these mass murderers comes from interesting psychology backgrounds and family history.
I was with a friend recently, and their daughter was around, and somehow we were talking about Kamala, just kind of really light conversation. And she says, oh, we like Kamala, right? She was maybe like 9, 10, 11, something like this. And she was like, we like Kamala. And we're like, why?
Oof, that's a rough question. You don't want to ask people why because that makes them have to think.
And she was like, oh, because, and she said something about like Brat Summer.
What's that?
It's the TikTok trend that they were trying to associate with Kamala over the weekend.
Brat Summer.
Over the summer.
Oh, I don't know.
And they're like, well, what is it about her that you like? And she was like, oh, she's really good for women's rights. The question was then, what right?
Is this you said this is a 9-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, this
10, something.
Yeah, don't hurt them.
I said,
Don't hurt him.
What women's rights do women not have that she's fighting to protect?
That's a
And she's like, oh, like she's fighting for women's rights. You don't care that she's fighting for women's rights? And it was like, where did she get that from?
got it from the talking head on the TV.
How they've been able to infiltrate so deep into society,
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
and no number or metric or you don't see this.
Yeah.
You don't see it because they're not watching 10 reasons I love Kamala. Like, that's not the video they're watching. It's hidden in other videos that they're watching.
Yeah.
So you don't even realize it's there.
Yeah.
Actually, none of the statistics of all how complex reporting and data collection is, they don't see this number. That the kids are going, oh yeah, like she likes women's rights. We don't know why, but it's important.
Yep.
They're getting them at like 10, 11, 12 years old. And I was looking to see like what she watches on YouTube, because now I'm curious. Have you ever heard of this YouTube channel called, what was it called, Will? My Story Animated? Dude.
It's. I'm gonna tell you exactly my first thought, which is so degenerate. But when you just said that, my first thought was, this is my journey to becoming the other sex and chopping my pee off.
It is a animated series of stories, and the stories they're tailored to like preteen girls.
Oh, the most mentally fragile and
Can you pull up some
influential.
of the titles of it? It's a cartoon, and we're like, you can't watch this stuff. This is like poisoning your brain. And she's like, why? They're just stories of girls. Because that's what they're related to.
What type of girls?
And it was like, no, like this is really bad for you.
Mm.
And she's like, it's just a podcast. How do you argue with that, by the way? What are some of the titles? Pick out a few.
There is a room in my house I'm never allowed to enter. Good twin versus evil twin. I'm the evil one. My friend went too far to copy me.
Yeah, these.
A
These-
billionaire became my personal assistant.
Man, if I was a teenager, I would totally click on that. That
Yes.
sounds so intriguing. That's like the Hardy Boys when I was younger. They would have these great titles of the missing mysterious ghost train. It's like, fuck, I want to read about that shit. You know,
How many subscribers does this thing have?
too many is the answer probably.
It's way bigger than you think. 22 million subscribers. 22 million
22
subscribers.
million
How
subscribers.
many views do the top hits have?
Wow.
It was like 75 million I saw.
75 million
This is
views.
why you don't
59
have. This is why you don't have
58
ever.
million.
Okay.
It is woke content, woke animated content targeted towards children.
And I'm going to tell you right now, as your daughter grows up, a big part of your job is objection handling. As your teenager and your young middle schooler will bring home questions and ideas that they hear at school that you're just going to have to objection handle.
This channel is a huge problem. Who owns this channel?
We already know who owns it.
Who do you think?
Small Hats.
Yes. Yes.
Of course. The pattern
Yes.
is obvious.
Yes.
The pattern is obvious. We are in the Weimar Republic, brother.
It's crazy.
We're in the Weimar
I
Republic.
saw this channel and I was like, I can't believe they're watching this. And I started clicking through it and I watched a couple. And I was like, I can't believe young girls are watching and listening to this. And they're like just constantly consuming it. And based out of Israel.
Brother, the entire porn industry is owned by a particular small demographic of individuals. Right? The pattern is so obvious. Right?
It was really disturbing. And if you're watching and you're listening and you see that your kids are watching or listening to this, like don't just turn this one off.
Did you hear what?
Just turn it off.
Did you see the clip of Candace with the Shmuley guy? Shmuley, did you see that?
I didn't watch
All right,
it.
well, I won't bring it up. She was on the Piers Morgan. It was Piers in the middle, her and then the other Shmuley guy, and she basically just quoted to him the Bible around the synagogue of Satan. So apparently, brother, the world we're living in is certainly a spiritual war because there are individuals who are creating content, creating products and services to dismantle the world, brother.
Because I find it fascinating, because we know for a fact, like this example, that there are foreign powers, foreign governments, foreign companies that are actively indoctrinating not only your children, but you. We know this as a fact.
Yes, 100%.
In the news over the last 2 days is this story of Tenet Media, owned by Lauren Chen. And apparently, Tenet Media, they received $10 million from 2 Russians that are part of the Russian propaganda machine.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave them $10 million to start this company. And under that umbrella, they had been paying Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, to name a few.
Yep.
Something like $400,000 a month.
It's a lot of money.
That's a ridiculous amount of money.
Yep.
And somehow, the 2 Russians are now indicted, named in their, not indicted, but named and kind of named because they didn't use her name, is Lauren and Tenet Media, and all of these creators in between.
Yep.
It's okay that Israel is funding and propagandizing our children, apparently, because no one talks about that. But these 2 Russians fund conservative media channel, and this one is a big deal.
Interesting how that works.
Why is there a line? Because a lot of the conservative media companies are going to call you guys out. You guys take money from Israel. You guys take money from China. You guys take money from all these entities throughout the world. They fund you. They start you up. They give you information. They pay for your clicks and views and pay for your propaganda posts. No one cares.
Well, if I can give props where props are due, Matt, you actually have propositioned multiple times publicly on Twitter, on X, on Instagram, that you are not someone who is purchasable. And you have spoken publicly about those who do take the checks underneath the table, that you will be found out, that you will follow the money. I care not about your conspiracy theories about building number 7. Follow the money. I don't care about your conspiracies about Sandy Hook. Follow the money. I don't care about your conspiracy theories about Vegas or club shootings. Follow the money, right? And so what we have here is another great example of don't care of your intentions. I'll never know your intentions. I don't know if you knew it or not, but you took the money. And so I think there's 2 sides to this, and I'd like to unpack them. And the first side is let's talk about you publicly saying that if you're going to take money, you should be honest about it.
Yes.
And so what are your thoughts in terms of the backlash of these conservative voices have blown up in the last couple years? Could that be a function of funding? Is that part of the game? And so I'm wondering, what are your thoughts in terms of the ramifications of this type of disclosure?
So 2 thoughts. One is whoever threw this grenade to blow up this story, it was intentional. They're trying to create division and strife within the right. They were extremely successful in doing so. And there is literally someone out there who's playing God with this game and trying to figure it all out. They're sitting there like clapping, very happy for themselves, very proud.
Yeah.
Because whatever their plan was to throw this grenade, it was super effective.
Yeah, it probably looks like this.
They're like, we're going to blow up the right somehow. And they threw this one grenade. And right now, everyone's like, oh, no, he took the money. No, he took the money. Oh, no, I didn't know. What do you need to know? No, he took it. No, he took it. No, I didn't know.
Okay. Can we just get down to brass tacks?
Yes.
You're a businessman. You're a successful operator. You're a successful entrepreneur. You've been doing it for decades. You tell me, brother, would you not know that a 6-figure check is coming into your business every month? Would you not know, Matt? Would that be past your purview?
Well, they're saying we knew we accepted the money, which they're admitting outright because there's proof. They definitely got paid for their ideas and their content. No one's denying that. The denial is, but we didn't know it was coming from Russia. Okay, fair.
How is that possible, Matt?
Plausible deniability doesn't
That's
work.
not possible.
It's not a thing.
It's not possible.
I didn't know I broke the law. It doesn't fly in this
It's not
country. We
possible.
all know that to be true. What the right thing to do was just don't take the money.
Matt,
And they make plenty of money. They didn't need to do it.
You're not
But
answering my daggone
$400,000 a month is a lot of their money.
you're not asking my question. You're defending them. Stop it.
I'm not defending them.
Okay, so you agree that they knew this was coming from Russian people.
Maybe.
Brother,
Okay.
brother, if you talk to a Chinese investor who's in China, guess what? They're probably Chinese. And come on, Captain Obvious here, bro. I've taken money from investment from China, Japan, Korea. I've never taken from Russia. But you know what? When I'm on the phone with Japanese people who are hanging out in Tokyo, I know they're Japanese.
Well, that's.
I know they're. If I'm hanging out with them in Busan in Korea, they're freaking Korean.
I don't want to defend them, but there's a difference between accepting money from Russian people versus Russian government. Just because they were Russian or they had a Russian name doesn't mean that it was propaganda.
Bullshit.
On their part. I'm trying to just.
Bullshit. I have had conversations with people and I have had to close down deals because they were connected to the CCP. I can't be involved with that because I'm a regulated entity. I'm a Reg D 506B through the SEC and FINRA. So I have to account for every nickel, every penny of where I get money from. And so we have had to close deals because it's like, hey, it looks like these guys also funded, other government entities. It's like, no, we can't do that because we can't take your money because it could be tainted or pushed through slush funds or all these other financial engineering that they do. Like maybe I'm not as experienced as Tim Pool as an operator. Maybe he is far better with money and far better. Like he has people he trusts. Fine, Tim Pool, right? You've made more money than I've raised, so that's probably true. So I have to call BS. Whatever I'm reading on the X, on the Twitters, I saw that Tim Pool's long. I was like, bro, bullshit. You knew who the people were. If you knew where the money's coming from, you knew who they were connected to because you're a good businessman, right? Kind of like the excuses that they're saying Biden's not fit to stand trial because he's mentally unfit. Then why is he running the daggone country? Tim, if you're mentally fit to run a podcast, it seems like you might be mentally fit to understand where $400,000 are coming in every month.
A month.
Brother, please.
And
Ninja, please.
if you are a talking head and you make your living by talking, doesn't necessarily mean you're the best business operator.
$400,000 a month is
So
coming
they
in from an
say-
account, brother.
So they say, we don't know, and we don't want to know, but $400,000 here, I'm going to take the money.
we don't want to know.
We don't want to know. We don't want to know. We're going to turn our blind eye. We're going to do the ostrich thing and put our head in the sand. But the money is good. Why would we say no?
Said nobody ever who's actually guilty. Nobody who's actually guilty says, oh, I didn't want to know where the money came from. Whose drugs are those? I didn't want to know. Brother.
But the reality is that regardless if you knew it was coming from Russia or not, you were taking the money and giving your words and ideas in exchange for money.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what the source was. The reality is that you were for sale and you sold out.
Fair enough.
So I don't think the Russia thing is the biggest part of the story because you could insert that with any country, really, or any organization. The reality is when they call and, I've shown you the text messages and I've shown everyone the text messages by now. When they call and they say, hey, can you talk about this? We'll pay you X amount. You have no idea where that money is coming from. The people that contact you aren't the people. They're just middlemen,
Yes.
right?
So you have to dig.
You have no idea. And the people that are sending it to you, they probably don't know either because they're just opportunists like everybody else. It may be 4 or 5 or 6 degrees of separation before you find out where the money was coming from.
That's why you just need to hire Ian Carroll.
No,
to
the
do
best
all
way
the
is just
villains.
stop taking the fucking money.
Yeah, that would be a principled approach, Matthew.
I mean, that would solve everything because if anybody watching has ever taken the money, they have you on a list of people that have taken the money.
And you're going to be found out.
Eventually, it comes out. Everyone that's turning on Lauren Chen and Tenet, they're turning on her because they're like, what if they find me?
Yeah.
Because everyone's guilty.
Yeah.
99% of the internet is guilty of this, by the way,
For sure.
which is super concerning.
Yeah.
And the globalist establishment leaders threw this grenade, created chaos,
Yeah.
and now everyone's like, It's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. It's your fault.
Exactly. And we still don't know who the men behind the curtain are.
No clue. Worried about the wrong thing.
Worried about the wrong thing.
And if you want to preserve your integrity, if you want to preserve your genuinity, and you want to be respected long term, just stop taking the damn money. And you know what? It may be too late
I think it's
because you're probably compromised and you don't even know it.
it's too. So I saw this tweet, and it's somewhat a tangent from Matt Walsh. He was like talking shit about raw milk. Did you see that? Anyway, it's somewhat of a non sequitur here, but the point is like, I don't know who's paying you to talk shit about milk, and now that these types of revelations are coming out, it makes you question, like, you just took a really hard stance on raw milk, Matt Walsh. That's really interesting. Like, why are you so mad at raw milk? The answer could be that he was paid. $400,000 a month is you know what? If you gave me $400,000 in milk, I talk shit about raw milk as well.
The almond milk lobbyist got to Matt Walsh. Makes the most sense, actually.
Actually. In today's matrix world, it's going to be harder and harder to understand whether it's real, whether it's fake, whether it's AI, whether it's you just don't know. But I tell you, Matt, there's enough money going around in the world, sloshing around at the upper echelons, where that's exactly what the game is that they're playing. They're just throwing lobs. So like, here's $400,000 to that guy a month. Here's $250. Here's $80,000 to her. They're just throwing this stuff out, and they're watching us ants. We're just fighting each other.
Question: where's my $400,000 check?
That's what I'm saying. So we know who runs the world. It's BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, Bank of America. I could go on and on. We got opportunity here to take over the world. You just tell us what to say. You put your hand so far up our ass. You could be our mouthpiece right here.
I hate raw milk.
I know. Raw milk sucks.
Raw milk is the worst.
Raw milk blows. It's the worst.
Almond milk only.
Yes. Only sugar, baby. Only sugar. That's the way to do it.
Because
man.
because there's so much going on about people's minds, people's words. We recently had Mark Zuckerberg admit to the world that he had been censoring content. And it's really interesting because he says that between 20 and 2021, that the Biden administration told us to remove certain stories, remove certain people, and that we had to do it, and we did it, and we apologize. That's what he said. Two things. One, when he says 2021, it makes it sound like they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
Yeah.
And number two, like, why all of a sudden is there so much talk about content on the internet?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask you the question. Why do you think Mark Zuckerberg came out to do this? Because not only everything he said was essentially a lie or misconstruing the truth at some level, but what do you think the only thing that I could conjure up is that there's some man behind the curtain, or man, woman, whatever. There's some individual behind the curtain who's like, we need you to do X. We need you to do Y. We need you to do Z. You're going to do it. And just like when we saw him at the Senate, he's got these robot eyes and he just is the mouthpiece. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts around this? Because this is certainly, I mean, he also included in that statement that he's not going to be fundraising or giving monetary support to any political party this year, which is really intriguing.
I think there are two possible theories that I think make sense, and maybe even a combination of the two. Theory one is that he has the most data available to him. He has the most data available to him of anyone in the world.
They're the NSA,
right?
Yeah.
He has more data than Google on your personal life.
They're the NSA.
He could have easily combed through all the data, and the tea leaves say Trump is going to win. And he said, okay, Trump's going to win. I have to make a shift now. Otherwise, the next 4 years of my life is going to be miserable. So he's proactively making a move. And that would only be possible if the data actually says Trump's going to win. Theory one, which would be self-serving and it makes sense.
I think that's a really strong case. I mean, the amount
of data
conglomerate data that people have given to Facebook. Facebook can send you an article, but Facebook can literally estimate within a 90% like chance. There was one study I saw of what you're going to want to click on next because you've given them all that click data.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So that's one theory. I think it's a
Crazy.
plausible theory.
I think that's pretty strong, actually.
I think the other theory, which is not as popular, but I think it's just as likely, is that over the last few years, he's been getting heavily into things like jujitsu. He's big in
His
jujitsu.
worldview's changed.
He has 3 daughters. He spends almost all of his time, something like 90% of his off hours with his family. They have like a huge house on a lake, and they are just outside constantly. His kids don't like consume a lot of media. They're like so family, and his life is his family. And that kind of changes your worldview. Being around the machismo of jiu-jitsu plus being softened by being around women all the time, and like your daughter's not like random women, it kind of changes you. And maybe he's actually becoming more based.
Can I give you a quote my dad gave me when I was younger? He said this. He said, if you don't have a heart and you're not liberal when you're young, then you truly don't have a heart. He said, when you grow up, if you don't become conservative, then you never grew a brain. And if you think about that, that's so true. When you and I were young, we were deeply liberal, right? And
You are not me.
okay. I was more liberal then than I am now. Let's put it that way. More liberal then than I am now. And frankly, that, I mean, for me,
Heartless me.
well, maybe you were heartless,
Yeah.
but you know, I had some heart. I had some bleeding heart moments for some social.
Causes.
So stupid. So stupid. Who gives 2 flying fucks? Like, nobody's doing any damage here. Nobody's helping out. But then, as you get older, here's my point. Clearly, you see it. Is that when you get older, you have a family, you have kids, you naturally grow a brain. What my dad would say, grow a brain, which means you understand that there's more to life than, you know, ejaculation. There's more to life than just self-serving yourself. And when you have kids, you see a mirror. I don't have to tell you. You have kids. You know everything I'm about to say. You got it.
Because there is a noticeable shift in how he talks,
Yeah.
how he communicates.
Yeah.
He seems so much more comfortable with who he is versus the beginning robot.
Yeah.
And every time he does an interview, all the comment section says, wow, they upgraded the model.
Well, that's because he has 3 daughters.
Yes.
Trust me. That'll
So-
soften you up.
I think that may be part of it. So maybe it's a combination of the two. Regardless, the shift in Mark Zuckerberg, if you consider that to be the most likely scenarios, actually it's a good thing. One, he thinks Trump's going to win, possibly. And 2, that he's actually becoming a little bit more conservative than he once was.
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I think, you know what hurts my feelings sometimes, Matt, is when I have met couples who have kids and the kids are like 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe early tweens, and the couple is still going out to clubs. It's like, brother, you kind of missed the boat here. You kind of missed the point. You know, it's not about you anymore. And frankly, you really want to be coming home to kids at 2 a.m. smelling like beer and cigar smoke? Like, it's not the right thing. And so I think it's a combination of both. But at the same time, I don't believe any of it because I know that this entire game is just a matrix, and
Of course.
there's someone playing. There's a narrative to be played. He's just playing his part, and he's getting paid well to do it.
The most interesting thing I noticed was of all the major AI platforms out there, Grok, ChatGPT, the Meta model, whatever it is, the only one that's open source is Meta's. Everyone else has closed environments. You have no idea what they're doing, how they're doing it, how they're manipulating you. He has the only open source AI.
Yeah, and the sophistication is on par with an open source versus a closed source. But I'll give credit where credit is due. The principles that he has right now for open source are commendable.
And if you asked me 2 years ago, which of these guys would do their AI open source, he would not be on that list of people that I assumed.
Probably not. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So that's a huge surprise also. So there's a lot of things, and maybe it's fake, maybe it's artificial, maybe they are trying to portray him as such so that they can backdoor everything else. It's very possible and maybe even likely.
So
But something to note.
something finally clicked with me. Like, this entire episode is about being gaslit. Starting off with your
Yes.
questions in the beginning. It's like finally, I'm slow, guys. It took me 35 minutes to 40 minutes to finally make this thing click. So
What if I snap my fingers
stop.
and you would forget that you were gay?
So that, like, everything that we're talking about, man, is us being gaslit.
Yes.
You know, we all know what's going on. We all see with our naked eyes that there's something fundamentally flawed. There's something dysfunctional happening in the media, in the advertising, in the marketing, in the Mockingbird media that they said they turned off in the 80s. Yeah, right. No, they're still hypnotizing us. They're still propagandizing us. And so, and your YouTube example, that 11 million or 22 million
22 million subscribers.
they don't need CNN at 100,000 viewers.
Between 20 to 75 million views per episode.
CNN is already useless at 100,000 at peak viewers. Why you buy these YouTube channels at 70 million views for a night? Oh, brother. Like, that's how you change the world.
Mr. Beast has his trans friend, which they're going into a thing for, but he's got his trans friend, Miss Rachel, who is the biggest children's YouTuber in all of America. She has her ambiguously gendered sidekick.
Gender fluid.
I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know what that means. They are all doing it. They're indoctrinating your kids. And if you notice, they're saying, you're crazy.
Yeah. Of course you're crazy, bro.
And if you go up against it, actually, can you pull up that clip, Will, where it's called Kamala DOJ misinformation? You got to listen to what she said. In a recent
I think like
conference.
the Dilly meme teams are out there on full because, dude, Kamala is she makes it so easy to backtrack her on history because it's like, you said this, but we know you said that, like, not too long ago. So
just play the clip. We don't have to see it. We can just hear it.
And will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
They are coming for you.
bro,
They're coming for you. She's saying, I'm coming for you. If you disagree with what our narrative is, if you disagree with our propagandization of your children, if you try to tell your kid that this Miss Rachel or this, I don't know, My Story Animated, that this is bad, and you try to tell them this is not something that they should watch, they are coming for you. It is crazy. She just said it out loud.
clear as day.
It's so wild that she's literally saying, if you don't agree with what we're saying, and if the social media companies don't take you off for disagreeing with what we say, we will come after you.
This is when you and I had that episode talking about the DNC and the announcement of Kamala and her first speech, accepting the nomination. I told you she was outstanding. She looked and presented like an exceptional dictator. Like, there was nothing about her speech then. There's nothing that I heard now that has changed. She has an agenda. She's not quite sure of the specifics of it, but she understands the meta. And the meta is, she's going to run this game. She's going to run this town. And if I'm hanging out with black folk, my words change a little bit, that's all. And when I'm hanging out with white folk, they change back to northeastern accent for some reason. And so that's all. She don't know all the specifics, but she knows she's going to be in charge, and you are all going to come and heel at her feet. That's what she wants all of us to come heel, man.
They want to be the only ones that have complete control of the narrative of all the propaganda.
Of course.
She wants to be the only one. They want to be the only one. You have to believe that Kamala Harris is really Brad Summer and so demure, and that she's going to bring joy, and that she's going to close the next chapter and bring us into the next chapter of this final book of society that is America, and that they are the only ones that can say what is right, what is wrong, what you can believe, what you can't believe. And anyone that disagrees, And if any of the social media companies refuse to take you offline, we're coming after all of you.
Yes. Yes. And
How can she say that out loud? That's so crazy.
but Matt, you don't understand. Well, you do understand. But she's been saying this in her eloquent way that she says stuff for years now. It just hit me. When she says that she's unburdened by what has been, right? That is she's refuting all the past, all the history. We're going to be unburdened by all of that because we're moving into a new paradigm, a new matrix, a new world led by the holy and sanctimonious Kamala. She's taken us there. So when she says she's unburdened by what has been, I mean, I don't know if I'm going too far. You guys can correct me, but that sounds awfully Marxist. That sounds like the history is worth nothing.
And to prove her point that this is necessary, look at all the conservatives that have been promoting and propagating Russian propaganda.
Of course.
The timing of it, are you serious?
Yeah. Well played.
Yeah.
Well played.
Well played.
Well played.
She, all of a sudden, of course, this is necessary. Don't you see how the Russians are infiltrating our ideas and our words? And when I think about all of this, I kind of want to take a step back like, bro, maybe they're all innocent. How many times have you heard Russia, Russia, Russia? Every time something happens and they point their agenda and everyone on board like, yeah, Russia, 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 Russia. Chances are they were fucking innocent.
I mean,
I need to know. I've reached out to Lauren Chen. I'm trying to figure out how I'd get a hold of her. I've made a lot of calls to see if I can get a hold of her because she's off the internet right now. I need to know because
isn't this
so obvious?
Well, but also isn't this the mastery of the puppet masters? Is that we're so confused
Yeah.
that we don't even know what
Chaos.
We don't even know what up is up or down or right or left. We don't even know. We don't even know.
Because my gut was, I can't believe they all took the Russian money and then you. Of course.
But it could
That's
be
what everyone thought. That's what you thought. That's what I thought.
it could be so obfuscated
Yeah.
that you just don't know.
But all of a sudden, she's like, oh, we're going to go after all the disinformationists. It's like, huh.
You mean yourself?
You know, and it's not all. She says all, but she really means all the ones that disagree with me.
Yeah.
And now all these conservative medias, and I know, like, they're pretty disingenuous. I'm not huge Tim Pool and Benny Johnson fan. I don't know much about Dave Rubin. But those two, I'm not fans of. But they have pretty big audiences.
They do, but
And their names are tainted.
their names are tainted, but they can also have comebacks too. So
Yeah.
there's still that
It's really
potential.
hard to come back from the Russian disinformationist. That one sticks hard,
Russia has ended careers.
especially when you said you received $400,000 a month. How did you not know where that money came from? It's really hard to fight that.
That's when frankly, when I saw Tim
Stop
Pool's-
taking the money.
When I saw Tim Pool's text, one of my first thoughts was just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, you should have said nothing.
I'm sorry. Just say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Seriously, guys, I didn't know, but
No,
I should have known.
No, that was
I'm
too much.
sorry.
Nope. It should have just been bruv. I'm sorry. Or I'm sorry, bruv. That's
You
it.
know?
And everyone just speculates. Was he sorry about taking it? Or was he sorry about that if I found out? It's like, sorry.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I owe you. I think that would have probably been a better way to do it because once you go on this explanation tour, it's like,
And every liberal podcaster and talking head on the internet is like, I told you so.
Yeah.
They're Russian disinformationists.
it's yeah. Well, it's just like Kamala in that 18 or 19-minute
Mm-hmm.
interview that we all saw. When you know she was making stuff up when she started adding in all of these inconsequential details of stories, and it's like, wait, where were you? You remembered exactly these details? And so when Tim Pool was writing this apology tour X post, I was like, brother, just shut the fuck up, bro. Like, you're already donezo.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and I can't believe it's going to work because now they've ruined the credibility of the right and a lot of the main talking heads, and they have fodder because all campaign now for the next 2 months is going to be, we're here to stop the disinformation.
Yeah.
Everything pro-Trump, it's disinformation.
We're seeing it on both sides too, because the Krasenstein twins are
Yes.
now getting roasted for the fact that they own a lot of these prawn sites.
Well, at the same time, they're saying, "Oh no, we have to cancel Telegram because they are hiding information," which I kind of on the fence about, by the way.
Really?
Rarely. Okay. Question: If you are a social media or communication network,
Yeah.
and you know for a fact who the pedophiles are, you know where the trafficking is happening because you can see into all the data, and they ask you for it, do you have to give it up?
No, because you're a private company. By law, you don't.
Well, I
As a
mean,
private
international
company.
law. Okay, so you run into a morals.
Oh, it's
moral
it's
issue.
a moral and ethical, no doubt. But from a legal standpoint, as a private company, they have no.
From a moral standpoint, if you know where the skeletons are hidden, and they ask you for it, should you give it up?
I mean,
If you give it up, you ruin the privacy and security of the platform,
yeah.
which you want to protect. If you don't give it up, then you're allowing this to continue to happen, which is some of the most evil in the world.
It's the most evil. Period. Full stop. There's nothing more evil than that.
Imagine being in that position.
I'm glad I'm not in that position. I'm glad I'm not. But I'll tell you immediately my response. My response will be hand them over
See?
for the glory of God.
And that's
Absolutely.
tough.
Period. Full stop.
But then now you don't have a safe, secure platform anymore. And that may be one of the few left. Now what? Now you're going to automatically... The establishment, they take these things and issues that really put you into moral dilemmas and they weaponize it
Of course. They
in
do.
order to achieve their goal.
Of course.
This is the exact example of that.
Of course.
Because he knows. For sure, Telegram knows where the bodies are buried. For sure. Because they say it's encrypted, it's not encrypted. They know everything. They know exactly what's going on there. Same with Discord. They know exactly what's going on in there.
Well, in Discord's terms of service, they actually tell you they're keeping everything.
Yes. So when government asks, dude, we want to go after these guys, and maybe that's not even the reason why they asked for it. Maybe they just wanted to silence other side and opinions.
Of course they do.
Of course.
They don't want the opposition using secure channels.
Correct. But they use that as a way to get in
Of course.
and make a case.
Yeah.
And it forces you into this moral dilemma. And the reality is, the right thing to do is actually give up the information.
Yeah.
But if you do, then you lose your way to communicate forever. It's such a tough
Well,
place
you
to be.
lose the ability to communicate on that application.
Correct.
So that's why new applications need to be constantly built and become more robust and become more decentralized.
Okay.
Right.
So the only way to prevent the Telegram situation from happening is that you have to have a communications platform or network or whatever it is that even the owners of the platform can never see what's inside.
Or you create a terms of service that is so blatantly obvious that, hey, look, we want you to use our service. We want you to use it securely. We want you to enjoy it, but don't be deceived. We're collecting fucking everything. And guess what? If you're doing malfeasance and you come up on our dashboards that you're doing pedo shit and dropping in emojis of pizza and hot dogs, and these types of things and all their coded language, then guess what? We're going to flag you. Easy as pie.
But that means that they would have to actively monitor your communications.
When you are flagged within the automated systems that say that you're sending a lot of pizza and hot dogs, Obama.
Correct. So you, so you would have to actually I wouldn't consider that safe and secure.
It's not.
Yeah.
But you
If you
read the
wanted-
terms of service.
Yeah, if you wanted a truly safe and secure one, then the owner of the platform can never know what's inside.
And and for those who want to do malfeasance and do bad things online, you can go use that service.
But the problem is that once you create it, you created a safe and secure, completely isolated network where the worst people in the world can communicate and you can never stop.
But Matt, that's already been around. 99.8% of the entire internet is the dark web,
Yes.
the deep web.
Yes.
So, and I've been there many, many times. So
Don't go in there, anyone.
Yeah, don't.
Don't do it.
There's shit that
One wrong click and you're in a place you shouldn't be,
you'll see things that you can't unsee.
and they're tracking you.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there.
So, so they're already doing it in the dark web and the deep web, Matt. I mean, it's not.
It's about making it consumer friendly
yeah,
because
well,
you have to have a little bit of knowledge and understanding and be willing to go down there. But if you're just on something like Telegram, all of a sudden a friend of a friend of a friend invites you to a group, you're like, nice, this is what I wanted to find. Like, you sick fuck. But you end up there.
Yep. Telegram is very convenient, but the majority of transactions at the higher levels when they're moving real humans and stuff is all in the dark web. So, I mean, they're doing secure chat there all the time. That's not hard.
It is a dangerous world,
It is,
and they will gaslight you
Yep.
and tell you that you are gay.
and you're crazy.
Well, you are gay.
You're right.
See?
You're right. You're right. You're right, guys. You're right. I've been found out. It's over. I'm gonna be canceled now. All my homies are gonna be, bro. I knew you were Tupac, or should we call you Tushnak? Oh, unfortunate.
Be careful where you play on the internet. I think it's really weird out there, and they are setting up these honeypots all over the place.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
They are deliberately setting you up to catch you later. They are putting you in very compromising situations so that they can come back and use it against you later, so that they can have evidence against you later. They're literally doing what Jeffrey Epstein did to trick and control those people. They're doing it to everyday Americans. now.
Blackmail's real, bro.
Be careful. Seriously, just don't start clicking around, and be careful where you go because they're tracking everything. It's a real thing, everybody. Please be careful.
And don't take the money.
Don't take the money. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Don't